Welcome to this episode of Pottawattamie County Roots. I'm Todd Studer, and we are welcoming a special guest into the studio today who's actually not from Pottawattamie County. He is from Muscatine, and see if I can remember. This is Taylor Wettach, and he is running for State Auditor in Iowa. Is Muscatine in Louisa County?
Muscatine is in Muscatine County.
County.
But it is next to Louisa County,
Okay.
so good guess, especially considering it is basically the opposite of where we are right now in terms of where it is in the state. So
You probably, you tell me, how long has the campaign been going on now?
Well, we got into this race about 2.5 months ago. It has been a very busy 2.5 months, and especially when you're running statewide.
Right.
There's a lot of work to do to get ready ahead of November, but we're game and we're working really hard and excited to get out and meet everybody across the state.
How far have you gotten? I mean, have you been in all four quadrants now? Is that, or is it still a work in progress?
We have made it effectively all four quadrants. We have not made it all the way up to the top of Northwest Iowa, but we're working our way there. So if we've not met you guys yet out there, we will be up your neck of the woods soon.
Okoboji, he's coming.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So first off, thank you so much for the chance to join you for this conversation in your beautiful studio.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to chat with folks and share a bit about my background and our campaign. As you mentioned, my name is Taylor Wettach. I'm from Muscatine. I'm a seventh-generation Iowan. I really grew up in an environment that I think is probably very similar to a lot of the folks that are listening and watching right now, one that was really focused on community. I was really raised in an environment where people were taught that you look out for other people, that there was no more higher calling than that. Grew up learning to listen to folks from all walks of life as a Hy-Vee checkout boy, learning to do the right thing no matter how hard it was for my faith and as an Eagle Scout, and learning to work hard from great public school teachers. And so it was that very quintessential Iowan upbringing that inspired me to pursue a career as an attorney, hoping to serve my country, serve my community. Spent my career negotiating with multi-billion-dollar companies, advising folks in government on some of the most critical legal and policy issues facing our country. But unfortunately, the Trump administration decided that they were trying to stop big law firms and lawyers from engaging with certain clients and representing certain causes, and they decided to go after my former firm. They ended up cutting a deal to do $125 million worth of free work in support of the administration, which I thought was wrong. My view was that it wasn't a left or right sort of thing. It's a right or wrong sort of thing. It's important to have lawyers being able to represent their clients, represent different causes, no matter where you stand on all these things. And so I made the decision to resign in protest and decide to take that upbringing, take that background, experience with financial issues, with legal issues, and speaking truth to power to get in the ring. And I'm excited to be fighting the fight to make sure we have an independent watchdog in the Office of State Auditor.
You made a decision earlier this year to leave a congressional race to come into this one.
That's right.
What happened that you decided, no, this is better, this is a better fit for what it is that I want to do?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, we really enjoyed and learned a lot from, and I think hopefully had a good impact in our congressional race. We worked very hard, got out in a lot of front of folks, and had some great conversations. And as we did that, we heard a lot about people saying, well, hey, like, who's gonna be our state auditor? Rob Sand has done a great job, in my view, in that office, being somebody who's called a spade and just done the work as it's supposed to be done. Now he's running for governor. And a lot of people were saying, man, that is such an important office. We really need somebody that can watch out for the finances, can actually be somebody that understands how to follow the money, to make sure that if we find waste, fraud, and abuse, that determinations of what we find can hold up in court, and is willing to speak truth to power. And people started saying, well, Taylor, given your background, you'd be a really great fit for that. And we really need somebody that would do that and do things the right way. And so as I had a lot of conversations with folks, I really felt like there was nothing more that I could do in this moment to do the most good for the most folks in our communities, in our state, than jump into the ring. And it's a fight that I think needs to be fought. I mean, this office is, I think, very important. I think folks have understood that more and more over the past 8 years with Rob in the office, that he's gone after waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption, local government, state government, and he's gone after Republicans and Democrats alike. This is a nonpartisan sort of role that's supposed to look out for people, and especially at a time like this when folks are struggling to get by more and more, The last thing that they should have to worry about is whether or not people are going to be taking away their hard-earned taxpayer dollars.
On Pottawattamie County Roots, we explore the places that make our region home and the people who keep them connected. That is why we are proud to feature Marnie Elkhorn Communications, your local communications provider serving Marnie, Elkhorn, Walnut, Avoca, and other southwest Iowa towns with high-speed fiber internet, reliable phone service, and TV options built for rural living. With real local support and unlimited data plans, you get speeds up to 1 gig to work, stream, and stay in touch with family and neighbors. Visit metc.net to learn more and get connected today. Finding the right care for a loved one can feel overwhelming. Assisted Living Locators is here to help. Jean Bonker brings more than 30 years of experience serving families and has personally navigated the challenges of elder care. She understands the questions, the emotions, and the weight of these decisions. Jean becomes your advocate, guiding you through options with clarity, compassion, and personal support every step of the way. Call Assisted Living Locators at 402-690-5467 and move forward with confidence. It is, as you said, a nonpartisan role. However, it is run with parties.
Right.
And you are on the Democratic ticket. And as of right now, at least, I don't know, can anyone else get into the race at this point? Is there still time?
No, I will be the candidate for the
So you
Democrats.
will be the candidate
That's
on
right.
the Democratic side, and there's 2 running on the Republican side. So, yeah, it should be a nonpartisan, but does the public see it that way, I guess is my question.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good question. I think, it should be nonpartisan. I think it is nonpartisan. I think the way that Rob Sand has done things has been one that's really been focused on just doing things the right way. And I think, that is the kind of representation we need, the kind of leadership we need. Unfortunately, as you probably familiar with, and as many of your viewers will be familiar with, in 2023, folks decide to try to take away some of the powers of the auditor to do its job. The independence of the office, the ability of the office to investigate what it needs to investigate, right? And so, I think to the degree there is any partisan debate, right, it's the fact that, some folks in the current administration, current government supported that. And I think that that's wrong, right? I think it's really important that we have an independent auditor, and, that means that the auditor should be able to investigate Republicans or Democrats. I mean, I've talked with Rob, of course, and I've talked with a lot of other folks, and, the view that I take is, well, if we find something wrong that is, under a governor who's Republican, well, of course, we'll investigate it. Same is true under a governor who's a Democrat. And so, I think if we're doing things the right way, if we keep getting out to folks and spreading that message, folks will understand that the way that we're trying to do things is one that's just looking out for all the folks in our state.
I don't know if I could go back previous to Rob Sand and be able to name who the state auditor was, because I think that he did a pretty good job of working online to let people know what his office was doing and the reasons why he was doing it. Agree or disagree with him, he was out there online getting that done. And maybe it was because it just wasn't an option before, and maybe, the online part of it. But he's really the first one that I've known that was fairly well known statewide in that role.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's done a really good job of helping folks understand the real value of this office. I think, for some time, maybe, people were not paying that much attention to it for one reason or another. I think part of it, too, was that the way that the office had been used at times was maybe not up to the full impact that it was supposed to have, but I think he had brought things back to the basics of it. I think that meant that instead of, just kind of being a CPA firm for local and state government, which was a very important function and maintains itself as a very important function, he actively looked out for waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. And I think that in a time like this, especially when folks, my view for good reason, often have doubts about their government and whether their government is actually looking out for them, it's really important to have somebody with integrity who's going to follow the money wherever it might lead. And so I think he's done a good job of getting that attention out there, and we're really excited to build on that and to try to do more and to continue to support that sort of mission, which, again, I think is one that's just doing the right thing.
You're early on in your campaign all around the state of Iowa What kind of feedback are you getting from people? What are you hearing from them as opposed to them hearing from you?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big focus, of course, is what we're trying to do is get out there and understand, what this office means to people and what more this office can do. I think, a lot of times folks will feel like when they're in their local communities and they find a problem that there is not some sort of option to address it, especially in small towns, places like that, where it can get complicated about relationships. When fraud happens or when mistakes happen, right, in the accounting of a city, right, the state auditor can engage and support that. And so a lot of folks have come to us and said, like, here's an issue that we've heard about, or here's another problem that we've heard about, or this is something the auditor has done that's been very helpful. And that's really been encouraging for us to see that folks have recognized the real value of this office and be able to do that. Another thing I know is that, as you mentioned, I'm running as a Democrat, but again, this office is supposed to be an office that fights for all Iowans. And we have lots of Democrats that are coming out, but we have lots of independents. And we have lots of Republicans as well that recognize how important it is to defend the taxpayer dollar and need somebody that they, trust will do that. And so that's been really encouraging as well, that I think that message has resonated, that this office is not a matter of left or right, it's a matter of right or wrong and whether we're going to have somebody that is actually looking out for the best interest of folks and is willing to stand up to the powers that be when those powers aren't standing up for the folks that they're supposed to represent. So I'm excited to keep on getting out, keep on getting more perspective. I hope folks will keep on reaching out to us. People find us online, Wettach for Iowa. We're on all social media, share perspectives with us and things like that. So I think by doing that, we'll be able to continue to build our approach, refine our approach, learn from where the people are on these issues, and be ready to hit the ground running in January.
So as you have been going around now here in Council Bluffs and the surrounding area, is this pretty much the same as other places in the state that you see? I don't mean like the physical, topography of it. I'm saying the people that are here. Or as you go around, do you see differences in different portions of the state that these folks are a little more concerned about this here or different issues in different places?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, the conversations we've had here have been along the lines of what we hear in most places across the state, right? Folks they want to make sure that the local government is doing things the right way. And they want to make sure that if there's corruption in the state government, that somebody is speaking up about that. Of course, depending on where we're at, right, there can be differences. If you have more Democrats or more Republicans, people have their specific issues. But what I've found is that really it's pretty universal. Most folks want a government that's going to work for them. And I think, one thing I guess I'd flag within that is, we do talk a lot about fraud, right? Waste, fraud, abuse, corruption, that sort of thing. But you also get a lot of folks talking about how people just need support to do things the right way. And that's something I heard a lot when I've been out here as part of this tour, and I hear it a lot across the state. And I want to emphasize that as well, because I do think that, some of the bigger issues of fraud and corruption get talked about, and they're very important, but you have a lot of situations where, communities are trying to do things the right way, and they might not have the technology, they might not have the information, they might not have the know-how to do those things, and that's another area where the auditor can be very helpful. So that came up, I think, maybe 2 or 3 different conversations we've had out here, and that's pretty standard for what we hear across the state, is that folks, are hoping that we can also provide that kind of support. And so that's a big focus too for us as well, is that we want to, obviously go after fraud and things like that, but we want this office to be a friend to folks in cities and counties across the state, be able to provide that sort of support. So yeah, that's been a big common thread that we've seen here and across the state.
Where's your passion for public service come from? I mean, this is not a small office you're running for.
Yeah.
So it's not as if you threw your hat into the ring for city council in Muscatine. This is a statewide office. So where did that passion come from?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, it was really from my community, from the upbringing I had. My mom was an educator in our community that believed that all children should have access to high quality education. Dad was a physician who believed that you deserve good health care regardless of your party. And they raised me to believe, as I mentioned, I'm an Eagle Scout, and also then through my faith, that there's no more important thing that you can do than looking out for other people. I think that is the root of what it means to be an Iowan. I mean, I have conversations like this all the time with folks, and they'll say, why can't we get back to that? Like, something happened along the way where we're not talking in those terms anymore. I think most people want to be part of a community that looks out for each other. And so that was the root of it. I mean, I was raised in that way, and that's been just the foundation of everything I've done since then. I mean, it's what inspired me to be an attorney. It's what inspired me to make the decisions I made to leave my firm when I thought that, there were efforts to stop folks like me from being able to advocate for folks that need it. And it's that sort of thing that made me feel like in this critical moment where a lot of folks have lost faith in government, where in many ways government is not looking out for them as much as it should be, and where we need people that will speak truth to power, that it was time to do more. And, I think part of it comes to from the fact of, it's like we all want change. We all want things to be good and better for people, I think. I reached a point where it was like, if I'm going to talk about that, if I'm going to say we need to do that, maybe I should do something in as strong a way as I can. So excited to be fighting that fight.
I can actually relate to that a little bit. Just on a side note, I long thought that media companies would be switching over to online, and because of what technology can now do, and it just wasn't happening. So I said, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Same kind of. So I had the same philosophy, just in my field.
And I hear that conversation in, it's me doing what I'm doing, it's you doing what you're doing. It's people that are volunteering in the community, people running for office, for city council, right? Things like that. Like, that is such an Iowan thread, I think, the more I think about it, of like who we are. You find a problem, you don't walk away from it, you stand up, you step up and say, hey, I'm gonna fill this gap. I'm gonna look out for people. I'm gonna do that. I think that's who we are as a people, and I've been really encouraged as I've gotten throughout the state, talking with people, meeting so many people that are thinking in that sort of way and want our state to be that sort of state.
I'm wondering, from a person on the inside of the political world, from the outside, it seems like this extreme partisanship that we've been seeing is starting to wane a little bit. But on the inside, does it seem that way to you, or is it still just as I don't know? It can get pretty nasty sometimes,
right?
But it does seem to be waning a little bit, and people seem to be getting tired of it, at least from my perspective. But from someone on the inside, what is it like?
Yeah, well, I've only been on the inside, as it were, for 8 months. I'm not a professional politition. I, was
that's
trying
8
to
months
do
longer
something
than me,
else.
though.
But
Yeah.
in that experience, right?
Right.
And as somebody that, of course, is always, had a real passion for public service and in my own way, right, serving my community. I think within this period, I have seen things go more and more in the direction of folks saying, hey, there's a lot that is wrong right now that we all can agree about. Education is a very common one that comes up, right? We used to be consistently in our state first to third in the country for public education.
That was a big thing when I was a kid.
Yeah, and it was from when I was a kid too, and I was raised with that. I remember, I met friends from other states and other countries, and I was so proud of that, right? Like, that's not a controversial thing. That's a thing that Democrats, Republicans, and independents all want to get back to. Or healthcare, right? Like, of course, everybody should get quality healthcare. Or an economy that everybody feels like they can move forward in and leave things even better for their kids. There is a lot more that unites us than divides us, and I have found on the road that, again, I meet Democrats, I meet independents, I meet Republicans, and many of them are looking for the same things. And they want the best, not just for themselves, but they want that for their neighbors. And I'm really hopeful that as you see this kind of moment where I think out of adversity, out of problems, out of frustrations with where things are going in our state, people are coming forward. I'm hopeful that they will come forward in a spirit of finding where we can work together and solve those sorts of issues that unite all of us. And I think, again, this office is smack dab in the middle of it, smack dab in the middle of the sort of work that all Iowans want, that all Iowans need. And I'm feeling good about overall, after I think a lot of struggles in our state and a lot of struggles in our country, for all the struggles we're facing right now, I'm feeling good about where we're going because of where I'm seeing people step up, speak out, and find ways to create common resolutions to the challenge we're facing.
Are you looking to grow your business or bring new jobs and investments to Southwest Iowa? Advance Southwest Iowa Corporation is the economic development organization for all of Pottawattamie County. Advance connects entrepreneurs, innovators, and established companies with resources, incentives, and strategic support to launch, expand, and thrive right here in our region. From site development to small business programs and community partnerships, Advance Southwest Iowa helps build a stronger local economy. Visit advancesouthwestiowa.com to learn more and get involved. I know that this is not something that you have any control over, the fact that you are alone in the primary. So you know that you are the presumptive nominee. Does that help or hurt? With that you're currently out talking about you, and it's not a competition on the Democrat side between two or more different candidates.
Yeah.
So is it a different approach at this point without having that primary hanging over you?
Yeah, I mean, folks in the Democratic camp are always inclined to want to ask hard questions, which I love. So I don't think I'm fully escaping from any of that. After all, I am an attorney that fired myself on principle, so I love hard questions. So I think we're still getting lots and lots of hard questions on the trail. But I do think it's great in the sense that I'm able to really focus on what is really going to matter in November, which is, the challenges, of course, that, Democrats are facing, but the challenges that independents and Republicans are facing as well. I think it allows me to, of course, have those conversations with Democrats. But again, I'm getting out there meeting independents and Republicans. And so by doing that, I think it allows me to, focus in early on what is really going to matter in this election, but also what's really going to matter in my term that I hope to have fighting for folks in this office. Again, I think, beyond that, the questions that folks do have, a lot of them are the same sorts of questions, between Democrats and Republicans as well. Whether or not somebody's going to do things the right way, whether somebody's going to stand up to folks in power, regardless of party, Democrat or Republican, and whether or not somebody's going to actually look out for the taxpayer. So anyway, be able to focus on those sorts of questions, I think, allows us to really, be going in the right direction and be ready to win in November, but more importantly, I think, do well for folks in this office.
It's hard, though, to get people to agree on what is the right thing. We seem to, because I know, and this doesn't matter whether you have a D or an R next to your name in a byline, that when the opposite side hears that, they shut down. Not everybody, but I have seen that over and over, that they just stop listening because we have gotten that partisan. Now, as I mentioned before, it seems like the shift is starting to ease back the other direction. I've talked with other candidates who said that they were able to have conversations on a doorstep with someone. So I think it's getting better, but still, that shutdown just from that.
Yeah, I mean, you get that, of course. As I'm sure I'm a Democrat, I'm running as a Democrat, right? But I'm sure that, Republicans as well face that when they're talking with Democrats, or folks that are, running independent positions, right? Like that happens. But, I think what I've seen is that maybe in part because of the severity of the challenges people are facing, they're more willing to look at things from different angles and different perspectives. But most of all, my experience has been that if you lead with listening first, you're more likely to get through to people. I mean, it's a pretty obvious answer, but I think you don't see it enough from folks. When we're on the trail, I try to, not just have it be a situation where I'm up there speaking, but where I will say, well, hey, what are the issues that you're facing, right? What are the challenges you're facing? Where do you think the auditor can be more effective? And I'm not saying, okay, if you're a Democrat in this room, tell me what you think we can do, right? I'm asking the entire room what we can do to do better, right? Where you think we need to be. So I've found that if we do things in that sort of way, folks are, if you listen to folks, they're willing to listen to you, and also you learn a lot more and be more effective in the process. And so, I'm hopeful that if our folks are out there when they're meeting people, not just obviously me in my race, but folks in other races as well, are leading with listening, then we'll be able to make some good progress in understanding what the real challenges are and then actually resolving them for folks.
So what's next? I'm sure that you've got other places around the state that you're going to be heading. You're a busy man. So what does that map look like for you right now?
Yeah. I've been very, very busy. We started on this specific run of the campaign on Monday evening, came up to Polk County, and then we were out here, and then we were back in Polk County, and we were up in Ames, and then we came back out here, and we're out here for a swing. Now we're going back out to central Iowa, hitting a number of places out there. We're going to go back to Muscatine on Sunday morning. So we're on the road a lot. I mean, at this point, we're reaching a point where it's like going back to my home is like visiting my home. We're going to go out there. We're going to earn every vote. And I think that's the thing that is the most important thing when people ask me, like, how do you do this, right? There's no shortcut. Right? You got to go everywhere. You got to talk to everyone. You have to earn every vote. You have to have those kind of conversations. And, we got 7 months to do it. It's a short time and it's a long time, right? Like you really have to get a lot done within it, but it'll go quick. And so we're going to continue to do everything we can to get out there, talk to everyone, make sure folks understand the importance of this office, make sure we earn every vote to do that. And I'm hopeful that if we've put in that sort of work, if folks can understand that we're going to fight for them regardless of party, and that the nature of this office requires somebody who will be independent-minded, who will use their background dealing with complex financials and law to look out for folks and be willing to speak truth to power, that we'll be ready to win November and provide the best possible representation for folks in our state.
Well, before we wrap up today, Taylor, just wanted to give you an opportunity, and everybody talks about the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not putting you on a timer, by the way. So if you had 60 seconds and you said, okay, you've got a chance here to state your position, probably just to be able to further a conversation, because I don't think you can sway anybody in 60 seconds. But what does that look like for you?
Yeah. The position of state auditor has never been more important than it is today. In this critical moment where folks are struggling just to get by, they should not fall into a situation where the money that they put in, the hard-earned taxpayer money that they put in, is being taken away from them, is being fraudulently used, and where they don't know where their money is going. When they put their money into state coffers or into local coffers, they should get the benefits that they deserve from that money. And to do that, we need somebody that understands the complex financials, understands how to make sure that determinations related to those financials hold up in court, but most importantly, somebody that will speak truth to power, that will do things the right way, and defend the independence and the authority of this office. I got in this race because we needed somebody to do that, because frankly, the person who is the front runner on the other side was part of an effort to take away the powers of this office to be able to independently do what it is supposed to do. This is not a left or right sort of situation. This is a right or wrong sort of situation. It's a situation of whether we're going to have somebody that can do the work to the best possible way and will do that and be beholden to the citizens and the taxpayers of Iowa, not to politicians, be they Democrat or Republican. I'm excited to fight that fight. I think this is a really important fight, and I'm grateful for all folks who are listening to us, and we're going to earn every vote to make sure we get there.
He is Taylor Wettach, and he is running for a state auditor in Iowa on the Democratic ticket. And grateful that you took some time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, great to get in front of your audience, and I'm excited to keep on getting out to folks in this area.
And that was going to wrap up this episode of Pottawattamie County Roots. Please, if you like what you saw, click that follow button, share. You can subscribe so you can continue to get content, and we can get more of what's happening here in Pottawattamie County pushed out even farther across the internet. My name's Todd Studer, and we'll see you next time.